The moment you open your mouth to speak English, something happens. A voice inside you whispers, "Your accent is wrong. Your grammar is broken." They will laugh. That voice, that is not wisdom. That is fear wearing the mask of caution. The real enemy of your English is not your vocabulary. It is that invisible, ruthless critic who lives rent-free in your mind, evicted. Today, you were not born afraid. You were taught to be afraid. And everything that is taught can be unlearned. They told me to stay quiet. They told me to stay still. And for a while, I believed them. I believed that silence was safety. I believed that if I did not speak, no one could judge me. No one could laugh at me. No one could see the cracks in my confidence, the trembling in my throat, the imperfect words sitting heavy on my tongue. But silence is not safety. Silence is a prison. And the cruelest part, we build it ourselves, brick by brick, every single day. Let me tell you something about fear. Fear is not loud. It does not come screaming at you. It comes quietly, gently dressed in logic. It says, "Wait until you are ready." It says, "What if you say it wrong?" It says, "They are all watching. They are all waiting for you to fail." And you listen. You nod, you close your mouth, you shrink, and that is how years pass. That is how dreams die, not in explosions but in whispers, not in failure but in silence. The critic inside your head is not your conscience. It is not your wisdom. It is not the voice of reason. It is fear, pure, shapeless, cowardly fear, wearing the costume of caution. And it has been living inside you for so long that you have started to mistake it for your own voice. You have started to believe that the doubt is yours, that the hesitation is yours, that the shame is yours. It is not. It never was. Think about the first time you wanted to speak English in a room full of people. Think about that moment. The racing heart, the dry mouth, the words lined up perfectly in your mind, but frozen somewhere between your brain and your lips. And then someone else spoke. Someone else answered. Someone else stepped forward, and you stayed back. And afterward alone, you replayed it. You told yourself, "I knew the answer. I could have said it." But you didn't. Not because you lacked the words, because you lacked permission. Permission you were waiting for someone else to give you. Permission that was always only yours to give. That is what the inner critic does. It does not just steal your words. It steals your permission. It convinces you that you must earn the right to speak, that you must reach some invisible standard of fluency, some perfect pronunciation, some flawless grammar before your voice deserves to be heard. And so you wait, and you study, and you practice in private. And still, somehow, you never feel quite ready, because the critic keeps moving the bar. That is what it does. That is all it does. But here is what I know. Here is what I have learned in the most painful, beautiful way possible. The critic is loudest right before the breakthrough. The doubt peaks at the exact moment when courage is about to walk in. That shaking feeling in your chest right before you speak, that is not a warning. That is your body waking up. That is your soul saying, "This matters. This is real. Do it anyway." You were not born with this fear. A child does not hesitate to speak. A child does not worry about accent. A child does not rehearse for 6 months before asking a question. The child just opens its mouth and speaks, freely, joyfully, without apology. Somewhere along the way, someone made you feel that your voice was too much, too accented, too simple, too foreign, too imperfect. And you believed them. You shrunk yourself to fit their comfort. You silenced yourself to earn their approval. But their approval was never worth your silence. Every time you hold back your words, you are agreeing with the critic. You are saying, yes, you are right. I am not enough. And that agreement compounds, it grows. It becomes a habit of smallness. It becomes a life lived in the background. And you were not made for the background. You were made to step forward, to take up space, to open your mouth and let the world hear exactly what is inside you. Unpolished, unfiltered, unapologetically yours. Your voice is not broken. Your accent is not a flaw. Your imperfect English is not a weakness. It is evidence. Evidence that you had the courage to learn something hard in a world that was not always kind, and you kept going anyway. Evict the critic. Reclaim the permission. Speak. I want you to look at something, not outside, inside. I want you to look at every scar you have been hiding, every mistake you have been ashamed of, every mispronounced word you have replayed alone at night, cringing, wishing you could take it back. I want you to look at all of it, and I want you to see it differently, not as evidence of your failure, but as evidence of your fight. We have been taught from the very beginning that mistakes are shameful, that errors are embarrassing, that if you do not get it right the first time, you should not have tried at all. We grow up watching people be laughed at for speaking wrong. We grow up in classrooms where the wrong answer brings silence or worse, laughter. And so we learn. We learn that being wrong is dangerous. We learn that imperfection is something to hide. We learn to edit ourselves before we even begin. But what if everything you were taught about imperfection was wrong? What if the stumble in your sentence was not a flaw, but a fingerprint? What if your accent, that beautiful geographical, cultural signature in your voice, was not something to correct, but something to carry with pride? What if the grammar mistake you made in front of 20 people was not the most embarrassing moment of your life, but actually the bravest thing you did that day? Because you showed up, because you opened your mouth, because you chose the discomfort of trying over the comfort of staying silent. There is something deeply, quietly powerful about a person who tries imperfectly. There is a kind of courage in the broken sentence that the perfect one does not have, because the perfect sentence, the rehearsed, the polished, the safe one, it costs nothing, it risks nothing, it reveals nothing. But the imperfect one, the one where your voice shakes a little, where you pause too long looking for the right word, where you say the when you meant a, that sentence is alive. That sentence is honest. That sentence is you unguarded and real, standing in front of the world without armor. And the world respects that far more than it respects perfection. Think about the people who have moved you most in your life. Think about the voices that stayed with you. Were they the ones who spoke flawlessly, without pause, without stumble, without a single crack in their delivery? Or were they the ones who spoke with feeling? The ones whose voice broke a little because the words mattered too much? The ones who searched for the right expression and found something even better? Something raw, something true. Imperfection is not the opposite of power. Imperfection is where power lives. It is where connection lives. It is where the human being behind the language finally becomes visible. We spend so much time trying to sound like someone else. We mimic accents from videos. We practice phrases from movies. We compare our English to people who grew up with it as a mother tongue, in a country built around it, in schools designed for it. And then we feel inferior because we do not sound exactly like them. That comparison is violence. It is slow, quiet violence against your own identity. You are not supposed to sound like them. You are supposed to sound like you, shaped by your city, your language, your history, your struggle, your beauty. Your imperfect English carries something their perfect English never could. It carries the weight of everything you had to overcome just to speak it. It carries the memory of the first time you tried and failed. It carries the late nights, the dictionary searches, the embarrassing moments you pushed through. It carries your resilience. And resilience dressed in imperfect words is more beautiful than eloquence that never had to fight for anything. So stop waiting to be perfect before you allow yourself to be heard. Stop rehearsing until the moment feels safe enough. Stop shrinking your vocabulary to avoid mistakes and start expanding your courage to make them. Because every mistake you make in English is a deposit into your fluency. Every stumble is a step. Every crack in your sentence is light getting in. You are not failing when you speak imperfectly. You are becoming. And becoming is always, always worth it. Before you ever open your mouth, something has already happened. Something quiet, something invisible, something most people never think about. But it determines everything. It determines whether your voice comes out strong or small, whether your words land with weight or dissolve into apology, whether you finish your sentence or let it trail off into silence, hoping no one noticed that you started it. That something is not your vocabulary. It is not your grammar. It is not the number of English movies you have watched or the podcast you have listened to at double speed. It is the conversation happening inside your mind, the one no one else can hear, but everyone can feel. Your mind is speaking before your mouth ever does. And if your mind is speaking in doubt, in fear, in the language of I cannot, and I am not ready, and what if I get it wrong, then no amount of practice, no amount of vocabulary lists, no amount of mirror exercises will save you, because the mouth is just the messenger. The mind is the message, and if the message inside is broken, the words that come out will always carry that fracture, no matter how technically correct they are. This is the thing no language class teaches you. This is the gap between the person who studies English for 10 years and still freezes in a conversation, and the person who has studied for 2 years and speaks with ease and warmth and presence. The difference is not knowledge. The difference is belief. One of them walks into the room already convinced they have something worth saying. The other walks in already apologizing before a single word has left their lips. Think about the way you speak in your mother tongue. Think about how effortless it feels. You do not pause to check your grammar. You do not rehearse your sentence before you begin it. You do not monitor every syllable as it leaves your mouth. You simply speak, and it flows, naturally, freely, without the weight of self-consciousness. Why? Not because your mother tongue is easier, but because your mind trusts it. Your mind does not interrogate it. Your mind does not stand at the door of every sentence asking, "Are you sure? Are you correct? Are you good enough to say this?" It simply lets the words through. That is what you must build in English. Not just skill, trust, a deep, practiced, daily trust between your mind and the language. And you build that trust the same way you build any trust. Through repetition, through showing up, through choosing it again and again, even when it feels uncomfortable. Start talking to yourself in English, not for an audience, not to impress anyone, just for you. Narrate your morning. Describe the cup of tea in your hand. Think through your problems in English. Argue with your own thoughts in English. When something makes you happy, find the English words for that happiness. When something hurts, Sit with the hurt in English. Make the language the place where your inner life lives, not just the place where your public performance happens. Because right now, for most of you, English only comes out when someone is watching. And that is exactly why it feels like a performance. It feels staged because it only exists on a stage. Bring it home. Bring it into the ordinary, private, unwitnessed moments of your day. Let it be the language of your thoughts, not just your presentations. Let it be the language of your questions, not just your answers. Let it be the language of your confusion, your curiosity, your laughter. When English becomes the language of your inner world, it stops being a foreign language. It stops being a costume you wear in public and take off in private. It becomes yours. Genuinely, completely, comfortably yours. And when that shift happens, when your mind starts thinking in English before your mouth is even asked to speak, something extraordinary follows. The hesitation shrinks. The monitoring stops. The self-consciousness quietly steps aside. Because the mind no longer sees a performance ahead of it. It sees a conversation. And conversations, real ones, honest ones, human ones, do not require perfection. They require presence. There is a moment, you know the one. The room is full, the air is thick. Someone asks a question or opens the floor or simply pauses long enough for you to step in. And everything inside you rises. The words are there. The thought is formed. Your mind is ready. And then something happens. A hesitation. A half second of doubt that stretches into a full second. And then two. And then the moment closes. Someone else speaks. The room moves on. And you sit back just a little smaller than you were before, telling yourself, next time, I will speak next time, but next time comes. And the same thing happens. And then the time after that. And slowly, quietly, without you ever making a conscious decision, waiting becomes your default. Silence becomes your habit. And the world, which was always waiting to hear from you, stops waiting, not because it gave up on you, but because you kept giving up on yourself, one unspoken sentence at a time. This is the cruelest lie that fear tells you. That waiting is wisdom. That holding back is humility. That if you just prepare a little more, study a little longer, feel a little more confident, then you will be ready. Then it will be safe to speak. But fear is not a finish line you cross. It is not a wall you break through once and leave behind. It is a companion that walks with you. And the only way to stop letting it lead is to keep walking anyway. To speak anyway. To show up anyway. Especially when every nerve in your body is telling you to wait. Readiness is a myth. It is the most beautiful, most believable, most paralyzing myth ever told. No one who has ever done anything meaningful felt completely ready when they began. The first time someone stood in front of a crowd and spoke, their hands were shaking. The first time someone answered a question in a language not their own, their voice cracked. The first time someone raised their hand in a room full of strangers, their heart was loud in their chest. But they did it, not because the fear was gone, because they decided in that specific moment that the thing they wanted to say mattered more than the fear of saying it imperfectly. That decision, that single, small, terrifying decision to open your mouth before you feel ready, is where confidence is born. Not in the preparation, not in the practice alone, in the doing, in the actual, physical, irreversible act of speaking when everything inside you wants to stay quiet. Because confidence is not something you find before you act. It is something you build by acting. Every single time you speak when you are afraid, you are laying one more brick in the foundation of a person who is no longer controlled by fear. You are becoming, one uncomfortable moment at a time, someone who shows up. And showing up matters more than you know. Not just for you, for every person in that room who is also afraid, who is also waiting, who is also watching to see if someone like them can do it. When you speak imperfectly, nervously, courageously, you give permission to everyone else who is holding back. You become proof. Proof that you do not have to be fluent to be heard. Proof that you do not have to be fearless to be brave. Proof that the voice does not have to be perfect to be powerful. Stop waiting for the fear to leave. It will not leave before you act. Stop waiting for the perfect sentence to form. It will not form without practice. Stop waiting for someone to invite you into the conversation. Walk in, take your seat, open your mouth. Let the words come out rough, let them come out slow, let them come out in the wrong order. But let them come out. Because a spoken imperfect thought changes you in ways that a perfect unspoken one never will. The room is always open. The floor is always available. The moment is always now. And you, exactly as you are with the English you have today, with the voice you have right now, are already enough to begin.